All right, we're live. How's audio, video, internet connection, all that? Hello, Dee Dee, Tom, Desiree, and Ryan. All right, we will get started. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Atitang nang bhagameya napatikangke anagatang yadatitang pahinang tang apatancha anagatam pachupannang chayo dhammang tatta tatta vipassati asamhirang asankupang tang vidda manubruhaye ajjeva kitchang atapang Kojanya maranang suve nahino sangarang tena mahasenena machuna evang viharing ataping ahoratang atanditang tangve badde karatoti santo achikate muni. All right, English. A single excellent night discourse. Let not a person revive the past, or on the future build his hopes, for the past has been left behind, and the future has not been reached. Instead, with insight, let him see each presently arisen state. Let him know that and be sure of it, invincibly, unshakably. Today the effort must be made, tomorrow death may come, who knows? No bargain with mortality can keep him and his hordes away. One who dwells thus ardently, relentlessly, by day, by night, it is he, the peaceful sages said, who has had a single excellent night. All right, friends. So how is audio, video, and connection? Hello, Gautam and Bella and Obasa. In about a minute or so, we'll get started with our meditation. Hello, Brian. Welcome. I'm going to assume you all can at least hear me, because nobody said, Bhante, we can't hear you. We'll get started with our meditation in a minute. Thank you, Ryan. Much appreciated. Can you hear me now? That old commercial. All right, very good. So set your body up in whatever comfortable and stable position works for you. I don't think we have anybody new here today, so we'll do guided meditation, but it'll be a limited one, at least in the beginning. So set up your body and do your mindful scan, starting from the feet, moving up to the head. Continue to do the mindful scan of the body, and whenever you're ready, move over to following the breath. Do it at your own time. There's no rush. Whenever you move over to following the breath, remember to lay down your burdens. Whenever you're distracted away, acknowledge, let go, and return. From here on in, we're going to practice a basic mindfulness primer that I call FMTI, feelings, mind states, thoughts, and impulses. You can do this either while following the breath and applying it to distractions that arise, or you can stop following the breath and bring yourself to a broad awareness and then apply it to whatever arises in your field of view. For example's sake, we'll take the example of an itch or a pain. So in the example, when an itch or a pain arises, investigate the way that itch or pain feels in the body. What does an itch or a pain feel like? Is it one solid thing? Is it moving around, changing, fluctuating? Try to know that feeling of that experience as deeply as possible. Then observe the mind. What is the mind like when experiencing itch or pain? What is the general tone, general state of the mind during that experience? What thoughts arise during that experience? Almost always related to the state of mind. What are the thoughts like when experiencing an itch or a pain? Thoughts related to that experience, perhaps going over narratives, stories in your mind related to it. And finally, investigate impulses that arise related to that experience. Strong feelings to perform an action, like to scratch the itch or to adjust your posture to alleviate the pain. Try not to run away from or get infatuated by the experience that arises. Apply FMTI, feelings, mind states, thoughts, and impulses, as investigative tools to know the experience very deeply. Do your best to patiently endure to be with the experience so that you can learn as much as you can from it. feelings, mind states, thoughts, and impulses. Investigate your experience. Know it as deeply as you can. Endure it as long as you can. But when your endurance runs out and you can't deal with it anymore, it's okay. You can scratch the itch or adjust your posture. But try to do so mindfully and investigative. What is the feeling of scratching an itch? How does it change? How does the feeling change when you move the body? How does the state of mind change while scratching the itch or moving the body? The thoughts and the impulses. Just because the action has changed doesn't mean the investigation changes. It just flows along with the change, continuing to investigate, continuing to know as deeply as you can. Slowly start to open your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you, your body's position in it, reflecting on the state of your mind before and after the meditation, and contemplating any experiences that stood out. Welcome, friends. It is Monday night, and that means it's time for the Festival of Dhamma with the Magga Sangha community. It's time for Dhammapalooza, where we do a variety of different Dhamma-related activities. We did some meditation. We're about to read a sutta, but we already have a question. So if you do have a question, you're always welcome to put it in the chat at any time. Even when I'm reading a sutta, I always check the chat to see if there's questions and things like that. Accident Seller, are you still there? Hopefully you didn't leave during the meditation. Ah, very good. So, does meditation help with loneliness? I've been very depressed lately and also so lonely it's becoming claustrophobic. So I was wondering if I could seek refuge in meditation. I'm afraid to sit with myself as you do now. Yes, you can, but it's something that takes time. I don't think it's something you can kind of rely on, if you're kind of new or you're just kind of getting started or you haven't really developed it. But as Ajahn Brahm said years and years ago, one of the things I remember as a layperson, he said that if you are in meditation and you're feeling lonely, it's because you are not with a friend. Right? What is he pointing to? He says, like, you are not, if you, the path can allow you to become your own best friend. So that even if you are with nobody for long periods of time, you're perfectly content. You're not lonely because you're with yourself. Now, for some people, that sounds like a lot like suffering, so they don't want to be with themselves. They want to try to escape. And so they think, oh, well, meditation, maybe I'll escape. But no, there you are. You're with yourself, and it's even more quiet. So you're even more trapped with yourself. But when you have that correct, that good relationship with yourself, then the meditation is like, I'm going to go spend some time alone with a good friend. Yeah, I mean, that is something I really remember that happened on my path. And it was around the time that I lost the feeling like I had to find a girlfriend and I had to be with this person and that person and I had to all of that kind of just dropped off, and I was just okay. I was my own best friend. I mean, again, that didn't happen overnight. That took a while. So have some metta and karuna, goodwill and friendliness and compassion for yourself, and practice lots of metta for yourself. That's good. Lots of metta. Forgive all your faults and all whatever the negative fault-finding mind might come up with. Forgive all of that. I once heard a monk say that meditation it helps to see it as it's just you and your breath. That's the only thing that exists in the whole universe, just you and your breath. And that sounded so beautiful, I started to cry. Yeah, well, but when it's just you and your breath, and then even better when it just becomes the breath. Yeah, there's peace there. But it's not an escape. You know, being with yourself, being with everything that is you takes some getting used to. And if you get overwhelmed, do some walking meditation too. Walking meditation and metta. At least then your eyes will be open. You'll be doing something active, and maybe the claustrophobia won't be too strong. Claustrophobia is a powerful motivator. I have it myself. Not necessarily related to like mental stuff, but tight spaces can definitely bring it up. I know what it feels like to be kind of powerless and overwhelmed to claustrophobia, that feeling. Even interestingly enough, when I sit with an itch, it's a very claustrophobic feeling. Like it's almost like the same in my mind. It's almost the same feeling of claustrophobia. It's like I'm stuck and I can't do anything, and I'm trapped in. It's interesting how when you see the mind, you investigate the general tone of the mind. You start to see these similarities. Dee Dee asks if I have any food allergies. No, no, just southern Indian and Sri Lankan food. There's spices in that food that my stomach I think is allergic to. Um, but in general, no, I don't have like food allergies like what we think of today. Like, I'm allergic to peanut butter or this or that or anything like that. If the food is not vegetarian and not Sri Lankan or Southern Indian, I basically have no problem. It gets more complicated when one of those things are in the mix. Desiree has a question. I'm realizing that the hindrances of sensual pleasures is my biggest obstacle to practice, sense restraint especially. Do you have any advice for how I can improve on this? Thank you, Monte. Um, you don't have to say it, but if you kind of understand the specifics of what the obstacle is, like because sensual pleasures is a wide thing. Um, in terms of like in the investigative process of kind of understanding, the fact that you realize that kamachanda is a hindrance is a good thing. That's some wisdom. Then it gets down to kind of more of the nitty gritty. What specifically of kamachanda? Right? Investigate that. Um, like know that, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to understand the hindrance deep enough so that you can understand and cut it off before it arises, or cut it off while it is arising, before it sinks its claws in and is harder to get rid of. Media distraction, material goods. You mean that thought like you have to know what's going to happen at every second because everything's falling apart? Something like that. Material goods like worries about if you have enough. Like, am I stocked up on this? Am I going to run out of toilet paper? Or do I have enough of this or that? It's not spam, seller. No worries. Questions are never spam. Now, if you want to see spam, you should join us for Morning Monastery Experience at 8 a.m. in the morning. And when I don't turn on subscriber only, all kinds of wackiness, wacky bots invade the chat and say all kinds of wacky things. That's spam. Dee Dee can tell you all about that. I guess slacking off meditation to watch TV. If you were in a Zen center, they might throw the ruler at you. Feeling like I need to impulsively buy things that I don't need, or losing my temper. Giving into impulses in general, I suppose. Yeah, okay, yeah, this is good specifics, yeah. So again, slacking off meditation and want to watch TV. Don't think of it. Don't get lost in the specifics. What exactly is that? Think about it from the mind's perspective. One thing is kind of boring, kind of who knows what I'm doing, kind of I don't see the benefits of this. And the other thing is, oh, I get to get, entertained and get lost in something for a while. Right? So the mind is like, that's an easy choice for the mind. The mind's like, what the hell is this? I'm going to go, watch TV, get some entertainment. That's a very common aspect of a mind that has not started to deeply see the benefits of meditation, like somebody who's, the first couple of years. It's very common. Now, the impulsively buy thing, that's an interesting one too. That's not something that I ever had, but my sisters definitely had that. So I was like, it's interesting. Like, is it like falling for marketing? Like falling for, wanting to have something like the newest iPhone? I gotta wait. I gotta go and stand online because I want the newest iPhone. Like there's a lot of nuances within that. Like that's a deeper thing to investigate than one might expect. Losing the temper, that's probably I want to say that's more simple, but losing temper is essentially the mind not liking an experience. Usually because expectations the mind had are not being met. That's why we lose our temper. Somebody's not doing what we think they should do. I'm not getting what I think I deserve. Even if it's just basic common, manners or decency. It doesn't have to be something grand. It could be just, you think somebody should have said thank you or something like that. There's lots of, but it's usually related to reality not giving you what you want or what you expect. says, buying too much, your wallet will take care of that itself. Yeah, I guess that is one way to do it. But boy, by that point, you have debts and all kinds of stuff, and by that point it's pretty rough. It's better to nip it in the bud before you get to that point. Let me go back to the question because the chat's moving here. How do I practice walking meditation outside? Doing it like monks do will only attract weird glances. So how do I walk amongst people? Can I walk normal? I'll be honest with you. It attracts weird glances because it looks weird. It's not normal. I'm kind of sad that the only way that you've ever were taught or understood walking meditation is that very kind of slow Burmese way. I don't do that. I just walk at a normal pace. Now, that does not mean that people might not think you're not normal, because the walking meditation is usually you stand, you walk to one side, you turn around, you stand, you walk to one side. So even then, like, people might say, well, he's kind of like walking back and forth and like pacing back and forth. And in like movies in the pop culture, that means like, you're under distress or you're thinking or whatever, right? They still will think it's something weird or different. You kind of have to get over that. It's, you can think, oh, well, whatever they think, that's not my problem. That's not up to me. It's like when I was meditating at work, in the early days especially, when people didn't really get to know me, in a deeper way. Like I'd be like sitting on the bench. This was pretty early in my Buddhist practice. So I'd be like just sitting on the bench doing meditation for like 10, 15 minutes, and people would be like, I'd just be meditating with my eyes closed. I'd hear, he's like, he asleep? What is he doing? And even one person, I remember one time, like I heard, like, is he dead? I was, what? How would I be dead? But, this is just people who don't have any kind of mental framework for what that is. They're not going to know. So it's going to be, they're going to just their mind is going to try to fill in blanks from all kinds of various places. It is what it is. Well, I'll give you an example. Like one of my favorite memories from when I used to go to Buddhist Insights. When I was invited, I would go to New York City three times a year to give retreats. And I was on the lunch break, and I was just going for a little walk, and I was walking by and down in Queens, and I was just, if I see somebody, I'm waving or whatever. And these two ladies were kind of like, it's like a little bit of an apartment kind of a thing with a front facing, and they have like a little balcony. So they're kind of like right next to each other on their own balcony talking to each other. And I didn't look up yet, but I heard it's like, that's like the Dalai Lama or some shit. And I like laughed, and I looked up and I waved to them or whatever. Like a bald man in robes, to them, what was their mind was like the only thing that they knew what that was the Dalai Lama, because Dalai Lama is in the pop culture, right? Especially from the 90s. And so the mind is gonna, like, people are going to, the mind of those people are just gonna fill in things. And so you just have to, just not be attached to that. What they think of you is their own perception in their own mind. What can you do? You can't do much. And oftentimes, if you're worried about that, and you're trying to like defend yourself or justify or whatever, like this kind of stuff, like it actually makes things worse. Because then they're like, he's doing something. It seems like he's worried if, how our perception is, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So really, it's better from all angles to just not be attached to what if people think you're silly. Seller, go on YouTube and type in my name and then walking meditation. And what should come up is about a 25-minute instruction. It was a recording of me at a Bhavana retreat back in 2017, teaching walking meditation. So that might be helpful for you. Yeah. Shopping addiction in general. I have addiction problems in general, so I think that's where the issue comes from. Yeah. Well, I mean, there are worse addictions. Like, I mean, honestly, if you want to call it an addiction, I don't know that I call it an addiction. Looking back at it, it's more of a kind of like a coping mechanism, my coping mechanism of, I think most addiction, with the exception of like drugs that literally make you chemically addicted, but most addiction is related to the Salla Sutta, the simile of the arrow, where the Buddha basically tells us that because we don't know an escape from unpleasant experience, the only escape we know is to drown it out with pleasant experience. So when a person has a trauma or whatever, or unpleasant experience, well, they find something to drown it out with, whether it's alcohol, drugs, food, shopping, sex, whatever it is. It's essentially a hit of pleasant experience that they're using to cope and to avoid unpleasant experience. So my own issues, my own food issues were both, I'm happy that I never got into hard drugs and alcohol as a kind of coping mechanism. But also when your coping mechanism is something you have to eat every day to survive, that makes it also kind of tougher as well. So it's like, but still. Obasa, yeah, that's the Buddhist meme that I found years ago that we have always put on. It's like those two Victorian ladies, and one looks really distressed, and the other one asks like, "Who hurt you?" And the answer, like, she responds, "My own expectations." That's so true. That's a great meme. I love it, and that's not even Buddhist. I just randomly found it. I don't even remember exactly where I found it, but it's like, okay, this is so beautiful. This is so perfect. I don't think the person who wrote it, who did it, was Buddhist, but boy, it fits within Buddhist practice for sure. Didi says, Kahil Gibran, I don't know who that is, but exaggeration is truth that's lost its temper. Hmm. Hmm. Boy, the chat's busy tonight. Very good to see. But I have to kind of catch up. All right. I used to sit in a park outside the office. Once someone came up behind me and put a coin on my head. So weird. Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, you look at my head, like my head, there's like it's a little bump here and a little up here, but like there's a flat part in the middle. You could put you ever see like the women, in like cultures, like older cultures, like they kind of carry stuff on their head, or even in a lot of those older cultures, even some cultures, the men do too. You know, you you can carry, you can balance stuff on there. So I don't know why they would put a coin on your head, but maybe maybe it was like a good luck thing, like rub the Buddha's belly. Who knows? That is kind of wild. Uh, uh, Seller says meditation is becoming more and more trendy, so people will think less of meditating on a bench now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Desiree, the Sala Sutta is a very common sutta in like Buddhist recovery places. It's like a kind of core Buddhist recovery sutta, because I mean the Buddha really does diagnose it pretty straightforward, and it's like a really good um, sutta related to psychology, things like that. Brian, hey, congratulations on 4 years of sobriety. Wow, very good. May you make it to 40. 8 years clean. Very good. Congratulations. I had cake the other day, so I don't know if that means that my sobriety is broken as an overeater. But anyway, uh, yeah, congratulations. Definitely no easy feat for the both of you. I guess probably because of my career and being around, like, like in my office that were drug and alcohol counselors, like I forgot what the specific one was, but like when my clients would come in for tests and things like that. So like I got to talk to them, I was talking to those people all the time. And so it was, really kind of part of the air that I breathed for 8 years. And so I've always kind of been, and I even went to like Overeaters Anonymous. I even tried that, like the 12 step. It didn't really, I even went to Buddhist 12 step, and it didn't really it wasn't like the refuge recovery stuff that is today. I think that's actually better um, than what I went to. But, so I think that those kind of things are very valuable. And this is even in Colorado, I've been to 3 or 4 different um, Dhamma recovery groups. I've been brought to them. Um, and I was actually quite surprised that in 1 or 2 of them, they actually read the suttas in the group. Just like random people with random levels of sobriety come together, and it's like, you're reading suttas? Wow, cool. I was not expecting that. Very good. Sadhu. Seller says lively chat always happens when you're around. Well, then you come to every Dhammapalooza then. Although, let's see. Next week we have Dhammapalooza, but the weekend after that, we'll have to see. Uh, 2 Mondays from now, I'll be flying in from Seattle And I might be kind of beaten tired to do Dhammapalooza that night. But maybe I do at least maybe partial Dhammapalooza. We'll have to see. And then I'm going to be in Colorado later on for a couple weeks. So still waiting to see the approval from the IRS for the 501c3. Still waiting. We'll have to see how it goes. Oh, Tom is 3 years. Very good. Congratulations. Mugaseka, uh, Ajahn Brahm has no shame and we love him for it. Uh, Aiming for the rest of the, okay, then I guess some of the chat's moving to the point where it's like I'm reading a comment and I'm starting to forget the context. All right. Let's see. Am I going to Clear Mountain? Yes and no, technically. So I've been invited by Aya Ananda Bodhi. I don't know what her group is called now, what she's creating. Washington is starting to become a little bit populated by bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. It's interesting to see this kind of little area growing. Hello, Visakha, welcome. And so Aya Ananda Bodhi has asked if I can come out and be one of the bhikkhus in a procedure to transfer a Tibetan bhikkhuni into a Theravada bhikkhuni. I think she's having trouble getting enough bhikkhus to do this. But so I said yes. It's going to be a quick in and a quick out. Basically, I'm going to be in on Thursday and out on Sunday. Oh yeah, well, I can definitely connect you with a bunch of people for sure. There's 4 bhikkhunis and 2 bhikkhus that I personally know. Technically 5 because Thubten Chodron is in Washington, but her place is on the other side, is on the eastern end of Washington. I have a standing invite there that she gave to me years ago, but I've never been to Washington, let alone the other side of Washington. Hopefully one day. But yeah, you might see me in some of the Clear Mountain media during that time. The Ajahns and I we've been a part of one ordination. And also Bhante Sumita, who's the senior Sri Lanka monk, who's also going to be part of this. It's kind of like getting the old crew together. we've been together before. All right. Bhante, do you still listen to other teachers? Aside from you, I also listen to Ajahn Kalyano. Have you heard of him? No, no. I don't listen to Dhamma talks or other teachers. That's kind of, I did it religiously for 8, 9 years, and it's like I don't need it anymore. Um, the suttas are my major teacher. Now I will listen to like um, a talk from like Bhante Sujato or Ajahn Brahmali or whatever, if like they're talking about something related to the suttas, is to kind of like help with my sutta knowledge, that kind of stuff. But in terms of just like spending time listening to Dhamma talks, no, I don't do that. Haven't done that in years. Yeah, Ajahn Jeff was important for me in my early years of practice, for sure, because really of the access to insight and some of his scholarship and things like that. Bhante Yuttadhammo, now he is the first YouTube monk. I have a lot of gratitude for him. He's the first monk that had, things you could actually, interact with him and ask him questions and he'd answer them and things like that. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Okay, I'm back. What did it look like on your end? I kind of went out of the studio accidentally because I clicked the wrong mouse button. Um, oops. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah, darkness. That worked. But you are right. Especially since COVID, people are definitely spoiled for choice. Before COVID, trying to get monastics on the internet on YouTube was pulling teeth. I tried. I tried a number of monastics, and they're like, "No, yeah, I'm not going to bother that, being online too much, and I got my own, in-person sangha that I have to deal with, and yada yada, all that stuff." But once they got locked down, things changed, perspectives changed, and live streams begun. Hello, Gautam, welcome. Am I not back? Hopefully. Hello? Okay, good. Thank you, Didi. All right. Boy, this is the first time in a long time that Dhammapalooza was basically all Q&A and discussion. I just looked at the time. It's like, wow, we're almost to the end already. That used to happen a bit more often back in the in previous times, where sometimes it would just literally be Q&A for the whole time. But that hasn't happened in a while. It needs a lively audience. So sadhu, very good. All right, accidental seller, you got it next week. Same time, same channel. That's probably for the best anyway. I'm kind of tired. So the 2+ weeks of vegetarian food and doing a lot of teaching and a lot of being with people and answering questions is it's kind of exhausting. So So having a chat is probably easier than trying to analyze a sutta right now. Right. Yeah, when I started like learning Buddhism back in 2006, on YouTube there was Bhante Yuta Dhammo. There was another channel. It wasn't a specific monk channel, but there was one monk on there. Ashin, I think was his name. He's a Theravada monk. Um, and then there was Ajam, Buddhist BSWA, right? Buddhist Society of Southern Australia, or whatever, Western Australia, one of those. And that was basically it. There would be some channels that had like the random little talk or something like that, but there really wasn't much. So I had very, very little avenues back then, um, and even less avenues of places to visit in the real world. So in many ways, it is easier for the person getting into this now. So, and even I had it easy. The people of my parents' generation had to go to Asia. So I'm not complaining. Actually, I'm quite happy that I was able to do that. I didn't have to go to Asia, try to find myself on the hippie trail or whatever, like the my parents' generation did. So very good, Dee Dee. Maybe I mentioned that in a talk or whatever. But that's pretty obscure that you would remember that, or know this. Yeah, there's a sutta where the Buddha comes to a, is it the Buddha or the monk? One it starts out with either, no, I think it was the Buddha. The Buddha basically stops for the night at this place, and he's talking to kind of like, I guess, like a farm owner or whatever owner, maybe like an inn owner, and which those did exist, like travel stops, like you stop and like you're in like a kind of a walled place, and you can like sleep there for the night, kind of a thing. And so the Buddha stopped, and the person says, well, I do have one space, but there's a mendicant already there. So the Buddha's like, okay. And so it turned out that the mendicant was a Buddhist monk, but he had never met the Buddha before, because I mean, we're talking about hundreds of miles, right? We're talking about Buddhist monks spread over hundreds of miles and ordaining other people to be monastics. So yeah, people were born monastics at the time of the Buddha, and probably could have never even met the Buddha. But this one monk was very lucky that he is, spending the night together with the Buddha, and he's talking and all these kind of things, and he's asking him questions like, who's this that you're following, and who's this? And he's like, oh, the Buddha, and it's like saying all these things, and then just the Buddha kind of, and the next day reveals it, like who he is, and so it's a kind of a neat story. Uh, so you mean the Buddha was not on Instagram? No, I am though, although I never use it. Magaseka is even on TikTok. I think I maybe uploaded one thing and I never used it again. Although I do want to do more on TikTok because that is really the big place. It's like exponentially larger than all of the other social media places combined. And it's where the youth are. So it's like there's kind of like fakey, suspicious monks on TikTok that have like 1 million subscribers. It's like maybe a real monk needs to be on. It's like I don't know, kind of. But anyway, but yeah, so I am on TikTok and I am on this and that. I always, check out the newest ways of possibly sharing the Dhamma. If there's a new way, I'll definitely check it out. There's a line from one of my favorite songs back when I was a metalhead. If there's a new way, I'll be the first in line, but it better work this time. All right. Brian is saying it's Majjhima Nikaya number 140. Thank you. Well, that line was not Nirvana. That line was actually from Megadeth. But Nirvana was okay too. I was playing metal on my guitar when Kurt Cobain was doing his thing. All right. Anyway, that was a former life. Do we have any final questions or anything to discuss before we close out? Substitute for video games, DD? I don't know the context of what you're trying to say. My nephew told me about he played this game Cyberpunk, and like it's this like dystopian city, and is this like you go around the city and there's Buddhist monks and they look like me. They look like terrified of monks in this video game, and I guess they're like like in the cyberpunk world, I guess you can have like augments and like be like half a bionic man or whatever. And I guess the Buddhist monks are against that. So it's like, are Buddhist monks against that kind of stuff? I'm like, well, not really. Like, that's not. There's an interesting dynamic. So there could be interesting stuff in video games. All right. TikTok. Yeah. If somebody like 20 years from now, if somebody was like, Bante, I want to make a virtual world of ancient India, like during the time of the Buddha, I'm like, I'm in. Let's do it. Like we could, virtually walk around and like sit at a talk of the Buddha. Like, that sounds pretty cool to me. All right. I think we're good then. Okay. Very nice chatting, but it's time to end. Plus, who knows who can hear me in the monastery? I'm in my room, so it's like there might be somebody down the hall who can hear me. Thankfully, it's not too late. Okay, so let's share screen. Well, actually, no, we'll do the business first. So if you are joining us for the first time, or you're watching this later and sometime in maybe 2035 or something, who knows? Well, then, and you are interested in learning more about me or the Buddhist organization Magga Seka, then you can go to the website on the screen, maggaseka.org, maggasekha.org, and you can find various news and updates and articles. I just published an article a couple of days ago, growing up with the divine messengers. So there's a variety of different things you can find on the website. Dee Dee says, I am from your parents' generation. Yes, you are. Yeah. And all the monks who are your generation went to Thailand, went to Sri Lanka, that's what I mean. They went overseas for the Dhamma and they brought it back. And monks like Bhante Gunaratana came from Asia and brought it to the West, so that I don't have to go to Asia. I can be in America and learn the Dhamma. It's a wonderful blessing. That's why I said I don't complain that there's more options today. I'm happy there's more options today. All right. Well, it's kind of a little late for a question that deep. Send me an email. We'll talk over email. I think that's probably a better. This way we have time to discuss something like that. All right. Let's share screen. Okay. Dukkha patta chani dukkha, bhaya patta chani bhaya, sukha patta chani sukha, hantu sabbe pipanino etavata chamehi sampadang punya sampadang, sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya, akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika punyang tananamoditva charangarakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit of ours for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, friend. So, Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy and at ease, practice well and be well, and may you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which, if I'm alive, should be next Monday for another Dhammapalooza. But I will not be at Empty Cloud then, so the background will be different. So, have a good week.